I'm up over 40% on the week using the RicoCap Zones indicator, and I'm gonna show you right here, right now, on Friday, how exactly I use my entries and exits for the RicoCap Zones indicator on a few different names. Let's get into it. We're gonna get into the ins and outs of how to use the RicoCap Zones indicators. Preferably, or actually, we're just gonna really focus on entries and exits, how I use it and how you can use it and better advance your trading while using the RicoCap Zones indicator. Now, if you don't have access to this or know what the RicoCap Zones indicator, it's very easy, right? It just tells you where buyers and sellers are at. You put it on your chart and then you see green and red. Green buyers, red sellers, easy enough. It is my strategy. It's what I invented and what I've been using for years to make money daily, especially on Friday. So we're going to go over that. Now, if you want access to this and you don't have access to this, you can go to wap.com/RicoCapital and look for the indicator. You can sign up for that, get lifetime access, $20. So go get that and let's go. So jumping right into this, Tesla's going to be kind of a quick name we're going to go over because this is one of the few names on Friday that absolutely exploded. And I caught this and I got this dirt cheap. I got the 360 calls that ended up running from $70 each all the way to $500-600 a piece, which was absolutely crazy. So how could you have played this? How did I play this? And let's just kind of dissect this a little bit. And we'll move on to other names as well, so we can get a good feel about how other names look. So one of the first things first, 15. I get on the 15-minute, and I really just stay on the 15, 1 hour, and the 4 hour. As you can see already up here, it's preloaded for me. I like the hourly a lot, and I love the 4 hour, and I love the 15. Now, first things first, we're going to get on the 15. And why the 15? Because this is such a big move, right? If we look at it on the 4 hour, you can see this is just a huge 4 hour candle. 2 4 hour candles, huge. Looking at the hourly, it's good, right? So how could you have gotten a good entry on this? Well, what I did was very simple. It was very, very simple. Notice how we gapped up, overnight, and we see that we're kind of holding this green zone and we're just kind of holding into it. Notice that's the same exact zone that we opened up at overnight, or like opened up at. So that's kind of the key thing, right? This was the zone we kind of just opened up at and we're kind of with overnight. Notice what happened here, right? So one of the few things I'm going to tell you is this. I'm looking for the body of the candle. I'm not really looking at the wick. The wick's going to do the damage, right? But the body's going to tell the story. Notice where the body is on these 3 candles before it broke out. Where is the body on this? The body is holding this demand here, right? Sure, it went lower. Sure, it wicked and these still wicked. But the bodies are telling you we are holding this demand, right? Notice how when it gapped up into this zone overnight, right? The bodies really held this. It tried to push out a little bit, came right back. The bodies held. Not once did you see the bodies open up down here at all, because notice how it just held. And that's pretty much the RicoCap Zones in a nutshell, knowing where we're at and paying attention to the bodies, and then of course the wicks too. And I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. So these are all green zones. Up here's red and red before we actually, got above this. This one was red right here because we weren't above it just yet. And the reason why, it was pinned, right? So we opened up and you see the first 15 minutes. So this trade didn't really catch my attention until 45 minutes in, right? Because this third 15-minute candle really started going. And so we actually knew, all right, I was keeping an eye on this and I had alerts. The reason why I had alerts was I had it over this zone right here. We can get to this zone, which we did. You can see that second kind of 15 wicket, and we pulled right back down right there. The wicking, of course, is going to do the damage. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is a straight blast through the zone, or if we get a candle body opening up above it. Now, this is Tesla. Tesla Fridays is what I love to call it for my team. We know we bank on Tesla when it happens on Friday. When we get Tesla and things move fast on a Friday, we know we're going to bank. And so we bank all the time, and we know that Tesla Friday is a thing. So why am I looking for this exact move kind of break above that zone? Well, if we scroll out just a little bit, you can see why that zone kind of matters to me. And it was red at the time, and you can see that was actually the high of Wednesday where it kind of sold off from, right, came back down. So we needed to break that for a kind of a weekly break of a high and keep it pushing, even though again, it's Friday. So we got that move. And so I didn't really hesitate here. I actually took those calls and got that pretty good move straight up into that range. Now, say you didn't even take the break, you wanted to be a little bit more cautious right here. One thing I usually do or kind of wait for, especially if I'm unsure about it, is wait for that first or that next 15-minute candle to open up above the zone. This would be the first one. This opened up right here. Notice how it opened up and dipped a little bit. This is your entry on the 15. You're looking at this on the 15, and this would be your entry right here. As you're kind of looking on the 15, you can see where I still kind of have that highlighted on the hourly. The hourly was still working, right? It was still working, and again, this would have been the first hourly. Once that opened up, the next 15-minute, the next hourly opened up, and this again would have been above that zone, which is even more high conviction that's going to be a bigger play, right? So we're still looking on the 15. Let's get back to the 15 real quick. And so yes, we would have entered there. Any type of dip, we would have been entering right there and got a sweet entry on 360 calls, right? Because those are the ones that are pretty dirt cheap and not too far off the money. That's another thing, guys. Look for a realistic target. I knew likely we were going to run to 360 because of this gap fill that we have up here and that we were, hitting a lot of it. And so I knew that likely if we could run a 373 because that's where the rest of the gap is, but I doubt it. I think we're going to be very careful once we hit 360. Sometimes Tesla and sometimes the market love whole numbers. So 360 is a whole number. It's possible, we don't really go much higher than that, but as you can see, we did. But again, those calls, I entered 360, $70, and then boom, members were banking with me. I was banking. We pushed up and we immediately got to this zone right here. Notice how it's 361, 362, 363. Notice how when we got to it, the wicking, right? The wicking did the damage. Notice how we did pull back down for kind of a retest. We followed along the VWAP, but again, the wicking right there, really sellers got active and we kind of pulled back down into this range. Dip buyers got right back into it and pushed us right back up again. Right here, this is where you need to really understand. Once we hit that goal, once we hit that zone a little bit more, and it's my target or your target or whatever the case, notice the wicking. That's where you got to be like, all right, I don't think they're really going to go much higher than this, right? We're kind of nearing the end of the morning session. And again, I told the team likely they're not going to really go much higher. And it fought you like literally the rest of the day. It was like 3-4 hours later of just like nonstop kind of chopping, up, down, up, down, up, down. Not saying you can't make money in that, but just not really the banger move that I'm looking for. The banger move was at open, the first hour. And, that's why I'm the king of the open, because I look for, that explosion. And I, win big time leading members. Another thing is I caught QQ puts right at open on Friday. Let's get into how I caught that. Simple. Can you tell me why this was so simple, guys? Tell me why this was so simple. The reason why it was so simple, notice where we opened up. Notice not only where we opened up, what happened after that. We opened up in the sellers. Like there's a lot of sellers up here, huge red, zone. Notice how we did gap up. So we gapped up, we had a gap in between here, and we are in sellers. This was a no-brainer and it was a big sell zone, right? A big supply zone. Notice how big this is. And it was a no-brainer that I'm going puts right at open. And I slammed, the 712s. And I got those for like $140, and boom, those went all the way to like 230, 250. And then notice where we pushed. We literally got into demand, deep into demand here. Notice where the buyers kicked on and pushed us right back up. Notice where we hit again. This time, sellers got active just as fast. And we're already midday here, so this is another way how you can play the zones. Notice how we first wicked on that green candle right there. So technically we hit it and we got to it, but we rejected it. Notice the next candle that opened up. I would have shorted this all day, this pop all day, because I know we already hit it and rejected it. So likely we're going to come right back down. And again, you shorted here at 715 area, right? Price 715. We're right up here in this zone. We're already midday. The puts already dirt cheap because of, we pushed right back up. So the calls ended up working. And you could have got dirt cheap puts again for a better entry right here, something closer to, because we're already midday. And from 715 all the way kind of down to 713, again, lottos, you're making 100% easily. And this is how I use the zones, beautiful. And so we're not at a zone. That's our edge. That's our strategy. That's our edge. If we're not at a zone, that's our zone right there. That's our edge. Notice how we're not doing anything because we're sideways and, after we touch the zone, that's it. Calls, same thing. I would have waited till buyers got active in here because we slammed into this. Right there would have been the entry. What did I say? First 15 to open up. You would have entered it. You would have waited a little bit, and then boom, got that explosion, and you would have got from 712 all the way back up to 715. Turn around, slam puts, That's how easy it is, guys. And I'm going to keep making more videos about this. But again, just knowing where the buyers and sellers are at is the number one thing first. Then you can start adding trend lines and stuff like that. But again, it's super easy. Just throw it on your chart once you have access to it, and you are good to go. You can really make a lot of money with this like I do on a daily basis. So hopefully this sheds some light on this, and hopefully you guys can learn a little bit more. Again, I'm going to be making more videos, doing more free kind of mentoring for, you know, a group of y'all, anyone on the weekends and stuff like that, that wants to kind of get involved or catch it whenever I can. Or if you want to sign up for a one-on-one mentorship, wap.com/RicoCapital, where you get this indicator as well. All my services right there. We can do a one-on-one. I'll give you the zones for free, and I will teach you everything I know. One-on-one, answer every question you have. So think about that. I would not wait. My time is limited, but I am here for you guys. So check that out, and I'll see you guys on the next video.